Hello, John Cameron Mitchell.
Hello. I could use my confirmation name.
I just had to say the three names out loud to really believe that this moment is happening right now.
You love John Cameron Mitchell, Tranna.
I know. I'm trying to remain composed. I really don't want to embarrass myself, but at the same time, I don't really feel any shame in wanting to celebrate my love for you.
Can you use every name? You can use my confirmation name, Benedict.
John Benedict Cameron Mitchell.
Which I was forced into. I wanted Dominic because I thought a Dominic would be a cuter saint.
Well, I think Dominic is cuter than Benedict.
Right, but I was a boy of duty then, and I was taught by Benedictine monks and barely avoided being molested, but didn't know till later.
A Catholic from Texas. Is that it?
Oh, we just lived there for a few months because my dad
right.
was in the army.
Okay.
My mom was Scottish, so we lived I lived in Scotland when I was a kid in boarding school.
And it took you about 20 years to make your escape?
Yeah, and about 50 years to write about it.
One of my favorite lines in Short Bus is New York is where everyone goes to be forgiven.
And fucked.
Yes. But I'm curious.
In that order.
But I'm curious about, maybe it wasn't conscious at the time, but looking back on that moment of escape, what you were going to New York to be forgiven for.
Well, I mean, it was just, being queer was bad enough, and growing up and still for a lot of people just being not fitting in and then realizing that was a privilege, and a gift, and you can do stuff with that. And I used to think being queer made someone inherently interesting, which I don't believe so anymore.
No.
It really
Less and
doesn't.
less.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe when there was a bit more diversity in the first world, it created the pressure cooker thing. Created people that were not necessarily better people, but more. They had to have strategies,
Right.
Which maybe made them more interesting. And but then later it was, sadly, the one disadvantage of acceptance and of different kinds of queer means there's more mediocrity coming our way, and more queer Republicans in America. Though Trump seems to be maybe holding that off a little.
Well, there's a twink for Trump movement.
That there was.
That's a thing.
I feel that might
That's
have shrunk a bit,
Right.
A little bit
since his attacking of queer people in general.
Yeah.
After lying in many ways about many things.
That's an understatement.
How do you feel being in Canada, looking outward on the
Freer.
U.S.?
I feel like I'm looking through a beautiful veil.
Right.
Through a stocking, through a lens full of Vaseline. But obviously the shadow is on the world, and it's really weird being here during the Charlottesville thing, which was so ugly and so frightening. I've been trying to take a diet of news and stuff, as a lot of people are, but then you don't want to just be a wimp and hide.
Yeah, I feel like we're in this moment where so much is being demanded of us, and it's
unabsorbable.
It is, and it's also, we didn't want to have to be warriors at this moment in time.
That's right.
But it is. I agree with you. We want to sort of look away and try to create some feeling of peace in our lives and in the lives of those around us. Yeah,
alternate, not facts or alternate reality, but alternative to
exactly
what we're seeing, and the dangers, of course, to be sucked into being the people that you seem to be your adversaries. Using the same tactics. Trump's ugly, simplified, critique of that is like violence on all sides,
right.
on many sides, as opposed to the complexity, which is so much there.
Exactly.
But I also don't want to be just lashing out. I'm not a lashing out person, and I'm not a soldier, in the traditional way. Though my dad actually was a general in the army.
Did that influence your approach to the work? Because
Influenced my approach to filmmaking.
That's the thing. You're a filmmaker, you're an actor, a writer. And you really seem when watching you sort of operate, watching you work, and then
Is
watching you operate.
military?
Yeah, there's something you know where you're going.
I know where
how,
my dad wanted me to be in the
Yeah.
military, and he was also struggled with his own sexuality, which he revealed to me, and he said we are all bisexual, and then we make a choice, and he made the right choice, and we could do that.
That's interesting. Do you agree with that?
No. But I mean, maybe all women. No, I don't know.
Well, I think there is something to that. There has always seemed to be this more fluidity with women in terms of
And
sexuality.
guys get very visual about their sexual response. They're like, jerking off to certain images. It's like a very visual thing. And I always admired women who the sexual thing was more of a big picture and a dynamic and a feeling based. So, can be visual too.
Right.
But I think we all have stuff to learn from each other. It's interesting.
Is that something you explored in Short Bus? Because you were here.
Yeah.
So we're recording this. It's mid-August. We're broadcasting it at the end of the month, at the end of August.
Yeah.
And you were here earlier this month to present Short Bus at this like old porno theater.
Yeah.
Where I was fortunate enough to be that night. It was a lovely night. It's an amazing film. Smell of chlorine and urine. I don't know if you can recall that from the venue.
Yeah.
I love that place. It's family owned.
Yeah.
I love it. Got
And
a
you
t-shirt.
did commentary on the film and sort of about like the process and how you find the actors and how you find and that sort of sexual fluidity that you were describing. Was that something you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, we made it in the early 2000s. I grew up very Catholic. Fear of sex was in the air. My dad's own struggle with sexuality was in the air. And so I wanted to go somewhere where you're a little frightened. I mean, that is the advantage of art, is to go places that scare you a little in a way that you might be surprised, but also involves nuance and exaggeration and I don't jumping off the deep end in an informed way, hopefully. So I wanted actors who wanted to go there too. Maybe if I made it now, there might be kind of a trigger warning, safe space alert.
Yeah, that would be a really different.
Or in other people's like, well, you don't have enough of a variety of people having sex.
Right.
That might be the question now.
That's
I don't
something
know.
that struck
I thought
me
you
watching
did.
it. I think there was diversity, but I think today there wouldn't be enough diversity. In
You know what?
Short
No
Bus.
film is big enough for
Yeah,
everybody.
That's true.
And you have to sort of, you start with your own story. But I did want people who wanted to go on that journey and were willing to use sex like music, like a musical uses music.
Right.
Sex is a language that can be used in different ways. And I thought it was too complex to just leave to porn
Yeah, absolutely.
or leave it to Hollywood, which had, still fun, but maybe flattened views of sexuality. So in our case, I sought out people. Anyone could audition, send in an audition tape. And it ended up being some friends, Sookie and Lee, and friends who were already a couple, queer gay couple. And oddly, I couldn't actually find a female couple who wanted to do that, Maybe it's because I was a male. I don't know. But it was a very interesting process, and we chose 9 interesting people before we had any plot, and then with them through improv created the story. So it was a very collaborative thing, which I want to keep doing. And then this week we also had Mattachine, which is our long-running dance party in New York that I do with Amber Martin and Angela DiCarlo, and I sang some songs. And I sang with great local acts, Big Sissy and Alexis O'Hara. And Alexis and I did a cover of her aunt, Mary Margaret O'Hara's song, When You Know
That
Why
you
You're
really
Happy.
liked. Yeah,
Yes.
in college. I was there. It was a fun night. Yeah. So how do you think these queer gatherings, why do you think they matter now? Why do you think it's important to get together and sort of just a party or just a...
That's a dumb question. You know why we all get together?
The
because we all
interviewer needs
feel
to-
so alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
behind screens and
Yeah.
and
That's where I'm going.
pre-
That's where I'm going. I want you to come
Yeah.
with me. Come with me there, John. Because in
I
short
feel
bus,
like I'm behind a screen right now for the person listening.
because in short bus, it's pre-social media, pre-apps, pre a lot of things.
I did invent Grindr.
You did invent
I
Grindr.
know, which is amazing.
There's that scene in Short Bus where the one character is sort of on his flip phone.
Well, it's a separate hardware piece
that's
called the Yenta
That's it.
3000, which is much better than the Yenta 2000, which is a kind of GPS based.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's going to be something like this, and there was no iPhone yet.
Yeah.
And I said, can I copyright this? And I never really went for the money.
Right.
And my lawyer said, you can't copyright an idea.
No. That's
And I
it.
was like, cut to.
Yeah. And you said at the screening, at the Short Bus screening, that indie filmmaking is not as vibrant today as it.
It's not as
it
vibrant,
once-
and it's not as popular. It's not as. It's not the first thing that people of taste rush to see now.
Right.
Okay.
It used to be in the 90s and 2000s. You just go see the best reviewed
Yeah.
independent film, right?
Yeah.
And now it's all television.
Television
and
or
Netflix.
internet based,
Yeah.
which can be great. It's just that there's something about a film that takes maybe a few more risks formally, that even the golden age of television is not always risking the form. They might be doing a genre really well, comedy, cop show, with complexity. Maybe Twin Peaks is an anomaly, for form, since it is really out there. But there's not a lot of shows on TV that are pushing it as hard as films have.
Right.
Do you consider yourself as someone working within the industry or outside of the industry?
I don't know what the industry is. I mean, are you within the industry?
No.
here?
No.
But this looks very
Yeah, it's
fancy.
pretty-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Studio.
This is the first fancy thing that we've been able
we're
to
pretty
do.
DIY.
Oh, really?
We're
Yeah.
punks. We're punks at heart. Yeah.
Well, I feel like
That's the sort of kinship I feel from you. Is like you're a punk.
I'm a punk who launders corporate money
Yeah, exactly.
for them. It's a service. I'm like the Grand Cayman Islands.
Yes.
I want to, because some people who've invested in some of my projects are in jail. I mean, I didn't know they were going to jail. And I'm
They're
not
in
gonna
jail?
name any names.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
But they're when they see St. Peter at the pearly gates, we're going to be a diamond in their crown, to
Yeah.
maybe get them past. I've never really been a group organization
Yeah.
person.
No,
I
I
like
know
to
that.
create my own environments where people can feel free, that are a film set. Like my dad was excited when he saw me on set because he realized I had become what he was, which was a kind of benevolent general.
Right.
Where on set there is a kind of delegation and like, let's make everybody happy, but a final say, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also like creating these small families for short periods of time. I think when they go on too long, you get infighting.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that idea of, creating your own sort of chosen family inner circle that we see a lot in your films, and that idea of coming together, I feel like for me watching, especially Hedwig and Short Bus together, that the longing and the searching for the other half.
Yeah. Which is a kind of family right there.
Exactly.
You and your other half.
But
Whatever that means.
I remember the first time that I saw Hedwig and heard The Origin of Love. And it's kind of an overwhelming realization watching it. Even now, still, there's something overwhelming about that idea that love is born from pain and separation.
Yeah. Which is a weird, I don't know, Christian view of love, maybe, where pain has to be involved. Other cultures or points of view will look at love in a different way. And maybe in a healthier way where it's more of temporary, moving from love to love, changing form
Right.
of love, maybe in a Buddhist way. But, I had Christ on the cross all day, and there was something very powerful in this Platonic myth, a myth written by one guy, Plato, in 400 BC, as part of his symposium, that symposium being kind of a gay post-Tony's party.
Yeah.
You know, someone's just won a theater award, and they all have to give a speech about why male-on-male love is hot.
Right.
And one of the stories was Aristophanes tells the story of the origin of love, of seeking your other half. And whether it's true or not, it sure resonates.
There's something very, I don't know, I feel something, every time I hear that song, there's something in me that
Stirring,
just happens.
yeah.
The fact that you explored that territory, was that connected to are you still a part of, or can you even be a part of Radical Fairies? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, Radical Fairies is a perfect example of a non-signatory group of people who, you know, might show up at some gatherings. You know, Radical Fairy was termed, the term came from Harry Hay, who started Mattachine Society, which was the first queer rights organization in
the 50s.
U.S.
Yeah.
in the 50s. I mean, there was certainly more earlier ones in Europe. But that's the name of our party, Mattachine, which we do at Julius, which is the oldest gay bar in New York that had the Mattachine events, actions there.
I think I've been to that party. I was very, very drunk. 2011. It was your birthday because you're a spring baby, right? Are you?
Yes.
April
21st.
Yeah. And I remember going to that party, and I remember making out with your friend Justin Vivian Bond at that party.
That's very likely.
It's very likely.
In that year.
Yeah. So for me, you're all you're sort of associated to that special moment.
That memory.
Yeah, that memory.
History.
Yeah. How is Justin Vivian Bond is very a gift, I find. Someone like I think she's achieved a lot in terms of like bringing
She's
forward.
an absolutely unique icon and mother figure to so many people. She, or V as she goes by, is often found curating summer Spiegelton events at Bard College, upstate New York, and is just, since I first saw V, before she was V in the late mid-90s, there was a kinship, you know, and I had started creating Hedwig and was definitely influenced by watching V and seeing her performing in Cowgirl Hall of Fame, which was kind of a lesbian Applebee's in Lower Manhattan, you know.
How would you describe her to people who, like, of course we've seen her in Short Bus, but how would you...
I don't know. She's like a cross between Marianne Faithfull and, I don't know, like Jean County, and with a little bit of Piaf thrown in. There's just, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You seem to be drawn to these femme creatures that can never really be fully defined. And I think Hedwig, in a lot of ways, and I think at least why it resonated with me so much, was that at the time, it felt at least like the first sort of expression of that to break through the mainstream. You know, because before
But it wasn't even that mainstream.
But I feel like I remember I found out about Hedwig because
found
it was in People magazine.
Really?
Yeah. I remember there being this blurb.
Really?
And just that little blurb, I'm like, I have to track down this
How important was
film.
that film for you?
But for me, it was so important because growing up, you know, with mainstream media, you know, like I was like growing up in the Will and Grace era, where it was like
which didn't really
it didn't do anything,
cover much.
No, it did not cover much, but it covered what it was sort of allowed to cover within the mainstream, but it really didn't go beyond that.
Right.
But Hedwig for me was the first thing that went beyond that, you know.
Thank you.
And I mean, I'm not the only one who feels that way about it. Hedwig was a transformative experience for a lot of people, and your audience, you know, for Hedwig has grown from the little New York places to the big Broadway stage.
It's an incredible story. The arc of obviously of Hedwig, but obviously of the project in your life and how that character has just become.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, like a lover that you create, and a baby, and an ex-wife now, that kind of allowed me to meet the most interesting people in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and allowed me to do things I care about. And it's it was never for anything but us and our friends. It never really made any money. It was kind of, it was a flop on screen, and then people found it on DVD, and the off-Broadway show was just sort of hung on by, her Lee press-ons. It was just very simple. But I was watching and learning, being a kind of more traditional actor. I was hanging out downtown and watching these drag queens and trans performers and rock gods who were not famous doing their thing. There was a club called Squeezebox. It was very formative for a lot of people, and Justin Vivian ended up there, and all these people who I learned from, and not being a real drag performer, I was, did not feel like I fit in at first, But
How did you approach that?
Well, I knew I wanted to write a musical, and the Stephen Trask, who was my composer, this is the place we were hanging out, and he was the leader of the house band, and my boyfriend was the bass player in the house band. So it was a family place. It'd go every week. It was like punk rock, queer.
So that's the early 90s, I'm guessing.
Yeah, 94 to 2000, and it was just so exciting, and it was exactly what I'd been waiting for my whole life, is a predominantly queer rock punk club, and the drag queens who were lip syncing up to that point were like, oh, I can use my real voice for this Iggy Pop song, and it actually sounds pretty good. So they're like, they're already punk and didn't know it.
Right.
Stepping into a house punk karaoke.
Because you were a teenager in the punk years. Was that a sort of
I wasn't anywhere
aesthetic?
near anything punk,
That's not
though.
the aesthetic you were.
I wish I had. It would have probably helped. But I was in Kansas, and there wasn't anything like that there. So, B-52s was like the most punk I heard of, which was great.
But it's interesting that something as punk as Hedwig, especially in terms of the influences that you had in birthing her, and then cut to 20x years later, and then Neil Patrick Harris as Hedwig.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know
to go
Neil,
from
who's
that
like
underground
America's
to that
sweetheart.
mainstream.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But who it resonated for him too.
Yeah.
That I wanted something that used Broadway structures that were comforting, a narrative like, beginning, middle, and end, closing number, opening number, things that people could. It could be the sugar that makes the medicine go down.
Right.
It's like this is. I always want my things to be pop,
Right.
but also with some depth.
Yeah, I feel like that's our philosophy to a T, literally. And I mean, of course, so many iconic people have inhabited the role of Hedwig, and I wish that it could kind of go on forever, because each interpretation is so, and of course, but I mean the Broadway show, like I saw it with Andrew Rannells,
Who was very good, right?
Amazing.
Really comfortable in drag.
Exactly. But I loved every announcement of who was doing it next.
Right.
Like Michael C. Hall, that floored me. I would have killed to see that. But who would you like to see?
Well,
inhabit
Broadway
that
required.
role?
Stephen Trask and I were very careful about when we wanted to bring
Are you still
it back.
involved in sort of? picking
Yeah,
it up?
I mean, it's with a play, the writer, there's actually a legal, responsibility to keep the script, to be in charge of it, and so Stephen Trask, the songwriter, and I, who wrote the book, David Binder, our producer, and our director, Michael Mayer, we always were in charge of a consensus of casting, of creative decisions. But I pretty much stayed out of it, except for rewriting stuff and supervising the animation for The Origin of Love, and doing a fake program because it took place on the set of a flop musical adaptation of The Hurt Locker.
Yes, I remember.
So we had fake programs lying around, and now me and Mike Albo and Amanda Duarte had a lot of fun making the fake.
Do you still have one?
Of course.
Do you get attached to things like that? Like, just mementos from shows and things that
Less
you've
than I
done?
do because I've done so much.
Right.
But I really appreciate it when I do. And I never used to take pictures because I was afraid it would take me out of it. And I never did social media till now that I'm on Instagram now, which
You're
is...
on Instagram now?
Oh my
Well,
God.
my producer said it would help me because the next thing I'm doing is a musical podcast series.
Amazing.
And it's something that I originally thought of for television as a series. And it would be starring me and Cynthia Erivo, who was in The Color Purple on Broadway. It's unbelievable. But it was too strange. You know, we went to L.A., pitched it, gave them the script for the whole season. And though people were excited, it was just too much.
Right.
You know, and when you think about it, would Hedwig, if it came out now, be a TV series or
Right.
even a movie? I would have to say no.
Right.
Not at that budget. Because it's not the movie time.
Yeah.
And it would be too unusual with no pedigree
Right.
on TV now.
Yeah.
So, you know, some things haven't changed. But it also purifies it to do it small, and you can do it the way you want. And we do have a wonderful offer to finance the podcast 9-part series. So I'm here adapting my television script for the podcast script.
Well, I'm very excited for that.
So it's like it's a working vacation, basically.
Yeah, you know, and I'm actually going somewhere else in Canada next month to keep writing. I don't know what it is about Canada and writing.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Yeah. We don't want to let you go.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Your latest film will be screened in Montreal
At Pop
mid-September.
Montreal,
Pop Montreal, which is an
September.
amazing
I know.
festival.
I didn't
It's
even
an
know about
amazing
it. There were so
festival.
many.
Are you coming back for that?
No, because
Okay.
I'll be in BC.
Okay.
Writing. But
So let's talk about the new movie.
the new one is
'cause-
called How to Talk to Girls at Parties.
Yes, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm very excited about. It comes down to this alien fascination because Hedwig is kind of an alien to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and she doesn't fit into any.
She doesn't fit.
She's not even trans. You know, she was just kind of dropped onto the earth.
Exactly.
Or even nationality. She's East German, but
She's
never
half
really,
American.
half
She
Amer-
didn't
yeah.
really want to be trans, but was kind of forced
Yeah.
into a bad decision that became something beautiful, as hopefully all our lives can be. We're given a set of circumstances by life, and then we have choices.
Yeah.
We have some choices. And that's the only message of Hedwig is, what do you do with what you're given? You know? And how do you move past regrets?
Is that a similar... So how did you approach... Because Elle Fanning is playing an alien and How to Talk to Girl at Parties.
Yes. How to Talk to Girls is adapted from a short story by Neil Gaiman. And we've kind of made it into a Romeo and Juliet story with a London punk teenage boy and a space alien girl.
Right.
Who appears to be an American teenager
A
on
sci-fi
a spring break.
romantic comedy, yeah.
Yeah, and he thinks she's, very odd, but she must just be American.
Right.
She's wearing yellow rubber suits and dancing to weird ethereal music.
Right.
That's what they're doing in California, maybe. So the whole thing is this misapprehension. And then he thinks she might be in a cult, and he's got to save her. Is it a dangerous cult? Ruth Wilson and Matt Lucas, play the cult leader or the alien leaders who are trying to get her back, like Romeo and Juliet. And Nicole Kidman plays the leader of the punk enclave.
And she looks amazing. She looks ferocious.
She's very nasty in this, and she said she was out of her. She's like, John, I'm out of my comfort level.
Oh my God!
sound
How do you react when Nicole Kidman says to the director, "John, I'm out of my comfort level"? What do you?
I tell the extra not to hit her with the bass again in the head.
Oh, did she get hit?
Yes, but luckily her wig was bushy enough.
Okay.
Oh my God!
She's
You
like,
shot that in England, right? In Sheffield.
in Sheffield and London. Other actors were spitting in her face by accident.
Wow.
She's
Oh,
like, John,
wow.
what's going on? I was like, Nicole, I'm sorry. We're moving so fast. It's punk. But she graciously entered our world, and I love working with her. I worked with her on Rabbit Hole.
Which I feel, because Nicole is obviously having a sort of renaissance right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not a renaissance.
But
It's that she's suddenly, people realize she's always been cool.
exactly. And you knew it.
It took a TV show, Big Little Lies, for people to go, oh my
But I think
God.
Rabbit Hole started that, personally.
I do
because
too.
I feel like after she won the Academy Award for The Hours, there were a couple of not so great film choices, which
But
I think
then you never know.
Of
if
course,
it's going to be
not
bad.
putting any blame on Nicole.
Yeah.
But I feel like Rabbit Hole was sort of the reminder
And
that,
she produced
people
that
needed.
too.
Oh, I didn't know she
And
produced that.
hired me.
That's amazing.
And she watched
Yeah.
Short Bus and hired me.
That's amazing.
I
We
mean,
didn't
that
talk about Short Bus much.
Makes her Yeah, well, Showbiz is kind of a eyes wide shut.
She had an instinct, and
Yeah.
you know, I talked about the story with great emotion. It really moves me. I lost her brother when he was 4 years old. The character loses her child at 4, and you know, she kicked my ass. I kicked her ass on set to get what I think is her best performance, and so we love working with each other.
Yeah.
And here's a Canadian story I haven't told on the air, but we premiered at TIFF, and I had one night off, and I was going to do a queer, you know, like DJ night. It's like, you know, all the it was stressful, and I had one night off. So me and some friends, a friend from Kingston said, "Hey, I got some MDMA."
That's
Like-
last September at TIFF?
No, when
This is for
when
Rabbit Hole.
Rabbit Hole.
Rabbit
Okay,
Hole,
right.
2009,
8 years
2010.
ago, yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, I'm working this festival. I don't really do things much. And, come on, John. You need to relax. This is all stressful. I'm like, well, it is my night off, and you know, I'll just get to sleep early. And then so I took some MDMA, and it was very good. And I was at the Gladstone Hotel eating locally sourced food.
This is the most
Fantastic.
John Cameron Mitchell story.
And then I look down, I have 12 messages and texts, "Where the hell are you?" from my producer. "The meeting with the distributor is tonight. The only distributor we want." I'm like, get over here. And I'm like, I'm drunk. They're like, get some coffee in you and get over here. This is it. So I'm like getting tense because I haven't really kicked in. Everyone's hugging me. You can do this. Hugging too long.
This is so
I get in
good.
a cab. You know, I'm talking to the cabbie for a long time, fascinated by his flight from Somalia to Canada. I was like, that's an incredible story. Get to the hotel. The producers are staring at me. What's wrong? You know, his pupils are really big.
So
10 people from the company are there. We're in a glassed-in dining area.
Was Nicole there?
No, because she was...
Okay.
It was not really her thing, and negotiating. So there with the entire company and the two producers and
And
me.
you're high
and
on
suddenly
MDMA.
the nice conversation with the Somali, suddenly I was fully in it. And I was like, "Hi, everybody." And they're like, "We're really fast. We love this film. We weren't going to do, you know, it's like, we want to do an Oscar campaign and the money." I was like, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about how each of the 10 of you really felt about this film. What did it... And they were all like, "Oh." And then there were tears, discussions of people's lost loved ones, and my producers are staring at me because I'm not supposed to be
Right.
controlling this
Right.
meeting. I'm just the director. I'm not the producer. And by the end, hugs
no way.
and an incredible contract. I was like, if you ever need to negotiate
Such a charmer.
a small film, I can hook you up with the right.
Amazing. Well, I might take you up on that, John.
We got one final segment before we're done with the interview.
Yeah.
So it's chosen things. So I'm going to name you something, and you need to tell me what you
Like
choose.
your favorite thing.
Yeah, favorite
of
thing.
the category.
Okay.
Yeah. First one, chosen album of all time.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I heard you had a bunch of CDs in your oven. Is that still the case?
I haven't checked. I haven't cooked. Album, come on.
Just the first one that comes to mind.
All right,
It doesn't have to be definitive.
Hunky Dory.
Good.
Bowie.
Chosen Bowie Look was the second one.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's weird and it's chosen Bowie Look.
I kind of liked his fascist look.
Ooh.
I don't like his...
Can I just
I didn't
quickly
like
add
his
one thing?
coke-fueled jokes.
Right.
But I liked the slick back, bleach blonde... what's the album?
Aladdin.
Low?
No. His last giant one with... not with Fame, but the next one.
Let's Dance, the early 80s? No.
No, right before the Berlin period.
Oh, right before.
Talk to me.
I have to admit, I'm not the biggest Bowie fan.
Oh. Everyone knows who's listening. He knows. What is
I know.
Station to Station. Incredible
Did you ever
song.
get to meet Bowie?
I did. He came to the show when I was doing Hedwig off Broadway. Thank God I didn't know he was there. I mean, when certain people came, Lou Reed, B. Arthur,
No
Patti
way.
LuPone. Oh my God! Some nights it was
B.
like
Arthur?
Barry Manilow, who I worshipped as a kid,
Oh my
and Marilyn Manson was, behind him.
Wow.
Okay, I knew that a lot
Wow.
of people came to the show. I didn't know some of those.
And totally. I mean, it was
incredible.
everyone. It was people who disappointed me, like Madonna, who was not very nice, and then others. It was a variety. And then
It's incredible.
we heard Bowie was there. I'm so, glad I didn't know, and he loved it, and he actually put money into our later production, and I got to
Wow.
meet him because my boyfriend was working at the studio he worked at, and he was like, "You got it right, John." I just became Australian.
Bowie and Nicole together.
Right? That
Yeah.
never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Bowie and Tilda Swinton, that happened.
That happened.
That happened.
Yeah.
Chosen New York neighborhood.
Well, I live in the West Village, and even though it's changed so much, I still like it because it's rent controlled
Yeah.
for me. But there's a lot of cute places. It's just that money rules there more than others' towns, so things are not as precious. My hospital across the street is now public housing for rich people, and our park is, but then they gave us a park, and we made part of an AIDS memorial. I don't know. I think probably still the West Village, I guess.
And one last chosen Nicole Kidman movie you did not direct.
I really liked Dogville, though I found the ending a bit of a kind of a cop out. But I really liked her in Dogville. I liked that Noah Baumbach movie she did, Margot at the Wedding.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have a soft spot for The Hours.
Yeah.
I know it's
It's got
obvious,
wonderful things in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I love the Julianne Moore story a lot.
Yeah. And I still love To Die For.
Yeah,
have to say.
I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah. I have to say, I really still love that. She was incredible in that.
Yeah.
Sexy and
no one
vicious.
else in her what would you call it, sphere, is as adventurous.
Yeah, you said that in some interviews.
It's true. You don't see, maybe Kate Blanchett and Tilda
Right.
Swinton, but you don't see a lot of the A-list. You don't see Kate Winslet seeking out Park Chan-wook or Lars von Trier or all
Right.
these interesting
Or you.
directors.
for that instance.
No. That's another story.
Yeah.
I can tell you about. But
my
I do think she's finally being appreciated as the artist and challenging artist that she is, and we'll do more stuff together.
I can't wait to see that. Thank you so much for
You're
being here
welcome.
today with us. I love you so much.
Check out our film, Pop Montreal,
Yes, we
September
will.
17th, North American premiere.
Yeah, we will be pushing that for you while you're not here.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.